to be turned.
Hey! Welcome to Friday Night Bible Study! Woo! And we had our first kids party last Wednesday, and it was so fun. Missed all the kiddos during the summer. They enjoyed it and had a great time. So we are back every Wednesday now with Kids Party, 6 to 7 p.m., ages 3 to 10 years old, and free bus rides. And it's a fun time. And then, not this Saturday, but next Saturday is gaming party.
Wow, first gaming party.
Not tomorrow, but the next coming Saturday.
Wow.
It is coming up quick. I am super excited. I've missed all the teens from the summer. So that's ages 9 to 18, 6:30 to 9 p.m. Free bus rides for that also. We have 16-player system link, room full of video games, Nintendo Switches, tournaments with prizes, dollar concessions, door prizes, and more. It is a fun time for your teens, and free bus rides for that also. Then October 12th, we have our first ever Covenant Woman conference, and that's going to be fun. That's going to be in Champlin, Minnesota, which is on the edge of the cities, and it's going to be an amazing day for just women, 18 and up, so no minors, no childcare provided, but the guys will be at home. Leave the kids with them. They'll have fun. They need that time. And that's going to be October 12th, all day. So you can find out more information. You can go to our Facebook, our website. Either one of those, you can find out all about that. So,
nice.
Let's open to Numbers 13.
Quick say to Justin, Cindy, Janet,
hey,
Shayna. How you doing, guys?
Happy Friday.
Yeah.
Numbers 13.
Oh, Numbers.
We're going to continue with our healthy diet of giants.
Ooh.
Numbers 13, and we're going to look at verse 30. Oops. Helps if I... Oh my goodness, my pages are like stuck together.
Hey, Trace.
Hey, guys. Oh, Elizabeth's on there too. Love it, love it.
Where's Elizabeth? Oh, I don't know.
Right above Tracy.
Hey, Elizabeth.
Oh, you have like no comments.
Oh.
She'll fix that. Anywho, Numbers 13, verse 30. Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, "Let us go up at once." So they sent out the spies. Now they're coming back to tell about what they spied out. So Caleb quieted the people and said, "Let us go up at once and possess it. We are well able to conquer it." So we have our part in possessing it. So God provided the land. He said it was theirs. So then you would just think, oh, it's ours, you don't have to do anything. No, we still have our part to possess it and then bring it into our experience of life. That's our job.
That's good.
Is to do what God said then. And we have to be willing. That's like number one thing.
Yeah.
Because last time we talked about you say yes to the blessing of God, but you also say yes to the giants, the Jerichos, the oppositions, all that stuff that comes with it. But the blessing's always better than that.
Yeah.
So you have to be willing to do the hard things to get the good things.
Yeah.
And God didn't even mention about the giants. Caleb didn't even mention about the giants. They said nothing about the giants.
It wouldn't have seemed that out of place for God to say, this land is yours if you beat the giants. That almost would have made sense.
Yeah.
You know, this land is, you know, just like King Saul said, if you kill that giant, you get this. And
yeah.
He didn't even
mention that because it didn't matter at all. It didn't matter one bit because they were going to get it anyways.
Right.
And he didn't mention anything about opposition. He didn't mention how they weren't even trained in battle. These were not hardened warriors. That was not their business growing up. They were trained slaves. That was their jobs in life. They were just trained to do what they were told to do. God didn't even mention, and Caleb didn't even mention, that they weren't even qualified at all. No qualifications to take over giants.
Wow.
All they were is servants, hard labor slaves. It's like taking the grunt worker and saying, okay, now I want you to be the CEO businessman. And all he knows is how to hammer stuff and drill things
all
in.
he knows is how to complain about the uppers.
Oh, this is true. This is true. Verse 31. But his...
You know, the slaves, they always blame someone else. The
Yes.
unders, the people who are oppressed, they always blame someone else. And it becomes a mentality where you're ruled, and so you always keep that, and so it's never your fault.
Yeah.
It's always somebody else, and that they just stop themselves.
And so God took that place now.
Yep.
Wow. They
And when you
blamed him for
blame,
everything.
you don't get the grace or help you need.
Yeah.
Because you're being proud and thinking, oh, I'm not doing anything. Where really, you have a lot to do with your situation you're in.
And God called that unbelief.
Woo! Evil heart.
Yeah.
As slaves, they weren't encouraged to get better at their work or get more skilled or, even, upgrade or get promotion. They weren't, I don't know what kind of incentive. There wasn't much, if at all. Where God, He would put them in positions where, you know what, they're going to take this faith test. When they pass it, they,
Yeah. Wow.
Slaves, it's never the positive reinforcement. It's always you do wrong, you get beaten. You do wrong, all these consequences happen. Where God, it's always positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
There are consequences to our stupid decisions, but God's always like, do this.
Yeah.
Do this.
Well,
this
it's
is
like
great.
it's like if you go to McDonald's and you say, "Well, I'm just getting my little $15 an hour, and I'm just going to be a cashier, and that's I'm going to do the least I can possible.
Yeah.
I'm going to and why is everybody doing why can't it just?" And then or you have the person that I'm going to make a career out of this. I'm going to get really good at this.
Yep.
I'm going to do my best. I'm going to be on time. I'm going to be the last one to leave, and eventually I'm going to be a manager, or maybe I'm even going to own this.
Wow.
It's a different mentality.
It's a different focus.
Yeah.
Because the one who's just working for the money, well, of course they're going to be complainers because they're like, well, I'm worth more than this. I should be paid more than this when they're doing the least that they could do to just get paid. Where the one who wants to be the top, their focus is, I'm going to do the best so then I can be the best. And God did that same thing. He didn't focus on the giants. He didn't focus on any of that. What He talked about was what He gave them. Same with Caleb. He didn't focus on the giants. He said, let us go up at once. Yeah. We are well able.
If you'll notice David with Goliath, it was all about honoring God.
Yeah.
It was all about, he wanted Goliath to know that there was a God, there was a cause, and he was coming against God's people. And like when you were talking about the slaves and everything, there wasn't anything like that. Even today, like working a job, there isn't I'm going to bless my employer. I'm going to bless this company.
Yeah.
I'm going to, make this company rise up. And it's going to be the best company ever. And I'm just going to, there's no honor and taking pride, not bad pride, but in your work.
They're separating the blessing from their workplace.
Yeah.
Yes.
God told Abraham, when he was still Abraham, I'm going to bless you and you're going to be a blessing. Well, that's a good attitude. God's going to empower me to prosper. And I'm going to use that here. And I'm going to be a blessing.
And that's the wisdom of God. There was a man in Korea, and he's like the head of this very famous company over there that's very profitable, very prosperous, just this huge company. But he started out a small family business that was like semi-medium-sized business. And he started out as a grunt worker. Now, he didn't want to just get to the top just because he was part of the family, but he said he worked like he owned the place.
Oh,
that means that he put in the hard hours. He worked like he was an employee, but an employee that owned the place.
You know what I have seen, though? Like even in our church and just new things that you do. You come in like that.
Yep.
Well, hire me. I'm going to be really good. I just really want it. And I'm just, and I will do this, this, and this. And you kind of give your word for that. And then as time goes on, then it keeps sliding down. And now the goal is, how can I still get paid and not do anything?
Yep. Because I've been here this long.
Yeah.
Well, think about if God wanted to take one of those slaves, if one of those slaves wanted to go through that process like you just said with that family business. And that slave, their mentality is, well, I'm part of the family. I'm just going to wait until I get the good thing, and then I'll start being a good worker.
Yeah.
Whereas God wanted them to be like he was, you start now. Put in the effort now.
Yeah.
Because God can't trust you with another man's thing if you won't be a good worker with somebody else's.
Yeah.
So if you own your own business, you won't be good with that if you're not a good worker yourself.
Yeah.
I found, too, that if all of a sudden I'm at work and I'm just, like, not having fun or the day is dragging by, or I found that my focus has shifted off of people, off of going the extra mile, trying to save people money, and then you get in this other mode of just, dreading it all. Yeah.
Yes.
You're just thinking about your
You
work,
just think about
and
yourself.
when you get off, and when you're going to get, out of the work clothes and all this stuff. But that you could just make a quick decision to go right back in, and your joy is there. That's where your joy is.
And really, that's the mission field.
Yeah.
And so we should be out there doing it unto the Lord, making people know Him, be touched by Him.
Yeah.
And I've done it both ways, where I'm like, oh, I don't want to be here, and you have a bad attitude. And then the other days where you're like, okay, this is great. I love this. You put your all in it. And both those days, you both get a reward for each of those days. But the one where you were just selfish and thinking about yourself and how you don't want to be here and blah, 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 that day, I don't know, you didn't feel accomplished. You just felt icky at the end of the day. Where the day that you gave your all, put your blood, sweat, and tears in it, maybe, I don't know, it was hard work, but you had a good attitude. You were like, I'm all in. That reward. Like, you can get home and be so exhausted, but you're like, wow, that was a good day.
Well, I think there's a lie, too, that if I do a good job, I'm going to end up like that anyways. So why even? And I'm not, what am I going to get out of it? And so why even do that? Where you drain yourself when you have that bad attitude, because you're going to have to do the job anyways.
You know why you have that attitude? Because you're looking for your appreciation, your reward, your flatteries, you're from other people and not from God. Because you're doing it to honor Him. And so He's going to, and I'd rather have Him honor me. I'd rather have Him reward me than anybody on this earth. But that's what we've been trained to do. That we've been trained to look for our total identity and our dopamine and all that. That's a huge. That is such a common word right now. I mean, that is just, everything has to be dopamine.
Instant kicks. For example, a while ago, I had spent a little extra time. Hey, you're at work anyway. Might as well get to the heart of the matter. And it was totally a God thing. Like, I didn't come up with this. And He showed me a little different way to run something through, and I ended up saving this person $144.
Wow.
And I was so excited to tell him, and I was like, I love saving people money. And that was so rewarding. And it wasn't even, the person wasn't like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. They were just, oh, thanks, you know. But that wasn't why. It was just so cool. Fun to be used like that.
Jesus summed it up, and this is a good picture of that attitude was, He said, I always do those things that are pleasing to my Father. And He said in another place, He said, my meat or my sustenance is to do the will of God and to finish the work. That's what drove Him. That's what, and when you're having fun, time flies. You never get tired practically. When it's when you sit down after having a day full of fun that's a strenuous fun, you go, whoa, I didn't even feel that until I sat down. When you have the right attitude, it's amazing what your body can do.
And your mind will always try to talk you out of it. That's like yesterday. I had a very full day. I had to get a lot of things done. I worked with John in the morning, then I had to cook for Tim, then I had all this stuff I had to get done and all this. And my mind was like, how are you going to do it all? But you know what? You just take it one step at a time. Yes, you plan ahead as much as you can. But things are going to come up, and they might change in your plans and schedules. That's okay. That's like this week has been just crazy busy. Tuesday was a very full day. We had a lot of church stuff to do, to set up and all this stuff. Like, it was the whole day. But you just take it a day at a time. And when you trust God with your effort, and you give it unto Him, and say, you know what? I'm going to give all my effort to you, God. He's going to make sure you get the proper rest.
That's an interesting phrase, trusting God with your effort.
Yeah, that's true.
God told me that. One year, we have a huge once-a-year garage sale, and it is exhausting work. It's months of work ahead of time, getting the supplies. Then it's like a week long of just hard labor setting it up, but I love every minute of it. So it was coming up. The garage sale was getting closer, and I was like, how are we going to do all this? And God, one day in my devotions, He said, if you'll trust me with your effort, like a good trainer, I'll make sure that you have proper rest. A good trainer, some days, He's going to, like a good shepherd, He makes me lie down in green pastures. Like, you sit down and rest. Because resting is just as important as those workout days. Because you need that time to rest and recover. And it happened that there was rest and recovery along the way, in between the hardworking things.
Because you could miss those opportunities if you weren't paying attention. What happened? Oh, you didn't use your rest time.
And it's funny. It's kind of like when you're trying to go to sleep. You never do.
No.
Like, it's really hard. You're like, I've just tried to sleep. But
Yeah.
if you just relax and let it happen,
Yeah.
that's what it is, trusting God with your effort.
Well, that's
When
good.
you try to make your own rest times, be like, no, I'm resting right now. You're not really resting. You have to trust him with the effort and with the rest times.
Wow.
Because the rest times might not look like a rest time you would think it would be. And during that garage sale, that was the easiest garage sale I think ever happened for me.
It was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was smooth, it was easy.
We had tons of help.
We
Yeah.
were happy, joyful the whole time.
It was fun.
totally
Yeah.
different.
And there was like little surprises and just random little rest times along the way that, oh, this is nice. Oh, I needed that. And you don't even realize it till after, like the next day or something.
What did Jesus say about that? He said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. My yoke is easy, my burden is light." So that's
light.
trusting God with your effort.
Yes.
And when you trust him with your effort, you're yoked to him.
Yeah.
So a yoke, it has the two people, it helps bear the load.
Equalizes
It
the
equalizes it.
burden. Yeah.
It's kind of like if you're doing separate dumbbell raises or you're doing a barbell. You can lift more with the barbell because you're using two hands together.
Okay, picture that. You ever see those guys that are really heavy one side? I don't know why the reasons are, but they have one arm that's a lot bigger than the other.
Yeah.
And, that left arm maybe can't do that much work. But because that arm's there, well, Jesus is the stronger party.
Yeah.
And we're
That's
yoked to
good.
him.
That's awesome.
I never thought of it that way.
That's
So
awesome.
he evens it out
Yeah.
and he makes your effort worth more. It's kind of like the little boy with the 5 loaves and the 2 fish. That wasn't enough to feed even the 12 disciples and all of them. But when he yoked himself to Jesus, he made it enough.
Jesus says, I know our God. And got God involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. When I had pulled my sciatic nerve, and I just kept pulling it. It was like 5 times that I kept pulling. It was so painful. And when I went into the physical therapist, God just said, go in now and make that appointment and go in right now. And so she had just gotten back from this amazing, just whole Saturday teaching just on your sciatic nerve.
Isn't that crazy?
It's just amazing.
How God does that.
So I was shocked what she said, because I had kind of my ideas, but I just couldn't figure it out really. And here I was unbalanced. My one side was weak, and that was my right side, which I'm right-handed. Your right side would be the stronger one, wouldn't it? And my left side was stronger. And so I kept pulling the right side, pulling the right side. So she gave me this exercise, and so she said, exercise your right side. I said, well, when I do this exercise, my left side isn't like really strong either. She goes, okay, do that, because it's 10 reps at a time. So do 10 on your right and do like 8 on your left. And I thought, 2 reps are going to do this? 2 reps?
Yep.
I mean, it's not hard.
No.
And there's been a lot. I gave this to all the people at our church that wanted it. My husband, and it was not long at all that it just kicked in. And I just, when we did Kidz Party for the first night, Wednesday night, I did the same thing. That's why I pulled it out last year. I did the same thing. I didn't pull it out. I didn't, hurt that, but I was pretty sore. And so I thought, okay, I got to back up just a little bit and do it a different way. And then you were telling me how you do it.
Yeah.
But we can get unbalanced.
Yeah.
And then we need to stay yoked with him.
Yeah.
So that we're going evenly. So you can get out ahead.
Yep.
You can get behind. You can be ahead behind. And then there's this huge struggle. And you think, why am I struggling? Where is he? He's right there.
Wow.
We've moved.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, you automatically think if you pull something, rest. You tried that. And you kept pulling it and pulling it and pulling it. A lot of times we do that. I'm just too stressed. So I just need to rest.
Yeah.
Why don't you go to God for the plan? He might.
Yes, he gets
Your resting might be some work.
Yeah.
Your resting might be, I want you to get out the scriptures and I want you to read this. I want you to listen to this much teaching. It might seem like it's work, but it's going to strengthen you to then properly rest.
Yeah.
And it's always, that's like a lot of times we'll pray like, oh God, my finances, blah, blah, blah. And we think, well, somebody's just going to drop money in my hands. Sometimes, but sometimes God will have you get extra work.
Or give.
Yeah, give extra hours at work. It could be things that, wow, this was a lot of hard work, but it worked out perfectly. There was a minister that came and told a story that God wanted him to buy a minivan for his wife. He didn't want to do it So all this stuff happened. So he's finally like, okay, I'll buy the minivan. They didn't have the finances for it. But he said miraculously, an extra job came up.
Wow.
And he worked that, and it paid the car payments. Once the car payments ended, that job ended.
Wow.
Look at how God will do that. So sometimes we think, oh, I need to rest, or I think it's going to be this way.
Yeah.
But God's like, no, that's not the plan. I want you to strengthen this. And you're like, wait, I pulled it. I need to rest this. No. I like one thing that the therapist said, because you asked her, are there certain things I shouldn't do? And she said, I don't like to tell you anything you shouldn't do, because I want you to keep moving things.
That's amazing.
Because if you rest things for too long, once you don't use it, you'll lose it. That's why a lot of elderly people, they're sedentary, they're not walking, they're not doing squats, they're not doing any workout or exercise, and they'll lose their ability to walk. They'll lose their ability to sit and get up in chairs and all those things.
Yeah.
So you have to keep consistently using it.
And God needs us to be healthy.
Yes.
God needs us to be strong. And we do have a part to play.
Yes, we
Because
do.
what if I was just like, oh, God healed me. He healed me. I don't have to do anything. Yeah, and that's not going to work, because then I would have just kept hurting it, because I needed to change something.
Right.
That would have been like the Israelites. Oh, well, God's given us the land, and they're still sitting in Egypt.
Yeah.
Get up. Go. That's
Yeah.
what God said. Get up and go.
Oh, yeah.
And they had to do the whole meal thing, and they had to get prepared and do all this stuff. And he said, get up and go. And they had to do that. We do the same thing. When God gives us things, then he says, get up and take it now. Now I've given it to you. Now it's your job to possess it and bring it into your experience of life.
And it was weird, too, because I kept asking the Lord, should I go in? Because there's this amazing physical therapist right where we live.
Yeah.
And we've gone to her, it's been quite a while, and it was no. And I thought, well, what do I do? I wasn't getting anything. And then all of a sudden, one morning I said, you guys, I have to get in. Well, you cannot just go in to a physical therapist. You have to see a doctor first.
Yeah.
And so when I called to see the doctor, they said I could do it over the phone.
Isn't
It
that
was
nice?
amazing. And I got in there like the next day. Unheard of.
And I think it was right after your appointment, she was like leaving on vacation for weeks.
She was going to Israel for 2 weeks.
Yeah. So it was just the perfect timing. She learned the thing. She was there just for that time. So God always sets you up for success.
I remember
if you
Kenneth
get the plan.
Hagin, he told a story, and I don't remember what it was exactly about, but he had been doing a lot. He went on the road, and his kids weren't dressed well. They didn't have much food. They didn't have shoes. It was just really bad. And he went to the Lord, and he says, Lord, I'm doing this, 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 and this. And he goes, yeah, he said, the Lord told him, well, you've been obedient, but you haven't been willing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a huge one.
It's like the kid that was naughty, and so they tell the kid to go sit in the corner, go stand in the corner. I think it was sit in the corner. No, it was stand in the corner. And the kid goes, well, I might be standing on the outside, but I'm sitting on the inside. Mm-hmm. It's that, you know what? The inside counts.
Yep.
And that's almost like more important than the
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah.
And we can do that not even being obstinate, but not being gung-ho and proactive.
Yeah.
You just I'm just there cruising along.
Yeah.
And Kenneth Hagin, he was desperate. He said in that teaching, he said, "Don't tell me it takes a long time
That's
to get
right.
willing." He said it was just a little adjustment on the inside.
Yeah.
He said, "Lord, now I'm willing," and then God gave him the plan.
Yeah.
Wow.
It didn't just fall on him.
No.
He gave him the plan,
Yeah.
but he couldn't get the plan until he was willing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And everything with God.
Keith Moore say about that, the willing band.
Yeah.
You'll pick up the plan on the willing band.
Yeah.
Wow.
And everything with God is proactive. It's like canoeing on a river. It's
Yeah.
a totally different ballgame than canoeing on a lake. Because if you're going upstream, you have to keep paddling. The instant
Yes. Oh my gosh.
you just
Yes.
relax, you lose all the ground you just
The whole
made.
thing.
And with God in life, it's always an uphill stream.
Yeah.
And we're always rowing uphill, but there's always rest in between there. There might be like little stops that you make that God will give you rest and relief. He'll get you there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you gotta stick with him. So let's stick with him here and look at verse 31. Numbers 13, verse 31. But his fellow scouts. So Caleb said, let us go up. Let us possess it. We are able. Verse 31. But his fellow scouts said, we are not able to go up against the people of Canaan. for they are stronger than we are.
Wow.
So this is totally two different, completely opposite views of what was spied out. They both saw the same land. They were both there for the same amount of time.
Yep.
Well,
Caleb and Joshua didn't even mention any of this because it didn't even matter.
No.
And there's that whole fear-faith thing. And you've heard it taught that faith and fear are opposites.
Yes.
But they're also the same. They're directions. Just like north and south are directions, but they're opposites. Faith and fear. So Joshua and Caleb were doing the exact same thing as those other 10.
Yep.
Right. Oh, just gonna get them.
There's one fly.
So, I mean, they were both using the same tools. Ones were just using it the opposite, the wrong way.
Yep.
And both of them got they got the results. Both of them got results.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, I have to say, John, you're looking pretty dapper over there, my son.
I put a shirt on.
I know. Pretty nice.
Good job.
Such appreciate, you know.
Oh, that's sweet.
You know, I want to say hi to Miss Norma and Maureen.
Hey, guys.
Woo, and Pastor John from Pakistan.
Woo. So fun.
And Miss Cindy. Praise God.
Love it.
Yes.
So with things from God, is there opposition? Yes. But it doesn't matter because God has already given us the outcome. If we'll just stick with Him.
So good.
The steps of getting there, it doesn't really matter.
Wow.
There could have been there could have been elephants, there could have been giants, there could have been who knows what, but that doesn't matter.
Yep.
There could have been orcs, there could have been
Same.
river trolls, who knows.
Same.
You keep your eyes on the finish, not on the process. You speak the goal,
Yes.
not the process.
Yeah.
You don't say, well, I'm getting healed. No, you say, I am healed.
That's right.
You don't say, well, this is clearing up and the process to you doesn't matter. You say the goal.
Well,
you keep your eyes on that.
They both did that. Joshua and Caleb said, we're well able to possess the land. And the other one said, no, we're not able. They didn't even say we're not going to be able.
Yeah.
They said we are not able.
Wow.
It's like the complete opposite. Caleb.
They grabbed on to that wrong. Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Bringing something in.
What is that?
I think it's a duck.
Oh, no, guys.
We'll just continue on. We just never know.
You won't see any carnage. So Caleb spoke 17 words, and Caleb spoke 17 words, and the 10 spies spoke 81 words. So doubt has more to say to you. Doubt has bigger arguments. Fear and doubt have to do a sales job on you. And so it overly states things. We're grasshoppers in their sight. We can't do it. And then it keeps talking, and it keeps talking, and it keeps talking.
Why would they say, and we're grasshoppers in our sight?
Yeah.
Who says that?
Yeah.
Doubters, full of doubt. Just
Wow.
Yeah. That is, and it's just misproportioned. It's just huge. We should go back to Egypt because at least we had meat.
Wow.
No, you had flesh pots. You know what that is? All the leftovers. All the ifs, ands, and buts in there. Like, you don't want, it's flesh pots. You get the gross bits.
No.
All the Egyptians got the good stuff. You got their leftovers, like the scrapes from their table. And they were like, but we should go back. Another thing they wanted to go back for, watermelon. We had watermelon. We had cucumbers there. Why are we in the desert? When they're literally having
free
manna from heaven every day.
Yeah.
But when you get in that cycle, everything is negative.
Everything. Ugh, it is. And doubt has no foundation. So it has to try to out-talk your thoughts. Because your thoughts will be on what God's telling you, but doubt will try to out-talk those.
That's true.
And be louder and more and persistent and just more and more and more. And they were looking at the land of Egypt. They were looking at the land with the Egypt mentality, with the Egypt focus on it, instead of God's showing you this way.
Yeah.
They were looking with the wrong perspective. In Egypt, they were slaves. Everything was handed to them.
Yeah.
Their food was handed to them. Their work orders were handed to them. They didn't have to think or do for themselves at all. They only did what they were told. And as slaves, they owned nothing. And they were happy. Haven't we heard that? We want you to own nothing and be happy.
And what's interesting is, you think that, I'm just doing nothing. You know, it's either believe or do nothing or unbelief. No, That doesn't even mention that as a category.
No.
There's believe, or if you don't believe, you're going to have the wrong perspective.
Oh my God.
You're going to be.
This is just a jungle here. It's just a, we're just, yep.
You think that you're doing nothing, but you slide right into unbelief.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uphill all the time. It's always a stream of doubt and unbelief, but we're going against that.
Yeah.
So we have to always have constant pressure upwards against it.
Yeah.
Always. And God was turning them into owners, into possessors, but they had to want to change too.
Yes.
Nobody can make you do it. Caleb and Joshua were changing with that.
Yeah.
They were the only ones. Your faith will make you a 1 in a million. Because there were 2 million people, and the only ones over 40 that got into the promised land were Joshua and Caleb.
Yeah.
That's 1 in a million.
Wow.
Now, in Hebrews 3 and 4, which everybody should read, this will be a perfect homework. It talks about this, but it talks about the other side of it.
Yep.
Now it talks about in our redemption and what Jesus has done. But it says that's our example. As a Christian, we can be living like the slaves.
Yep.
Like they don't trust God. They won't look to him. They're trying to do it themselves.
Yeah.
They're complaining. They want to go back.
Exactly.
They want to. We've seen this.
Yep.
We've seen this. We've seen people come to our church. They said, God sent me. I knew I was supposed to come for a long time. I'm so thankful to be here. They get healed. They get saved. They get delivered.
Yeah.
They get on fire for God. They start serving. They absolutely love it. Their whole personality. They said, I've never been this happy. I've never been this joyful. And then you don't see them anymore.
Yep.
It's like, all I can think of, because I've been trying to figure this out for all these years. I think it's kind of like, and I've heard, that when you're running, if you're a runner, distance runner, you hit a wall.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now you have to make a decision.
Yep. Exactly.
Even though you know the other side of that wall is just a wall. The other side of that wall is amazing. And you'll just keep going. And it's totally awesome. Or you can stop. And then what do you have?
Yep.
You got to go back.
And it really helps if you have your want to.
Yes.
It really helps because if you hit that wall, if you want to win, you'll get over that. But if you're like, why am I here? Why am I doing this?
If you are really a part of a church family, you should be leaning on your family to help you during that time. Yeah. These guys that didn't have the faith, they were the grasshoppers. They were think about this. You're the size of a grasshopper, and you've got these 2 guys that are lions. They're just, we're going in there and we're going to get them. Wouldn't the grasshopper go with the lions? Why would the lions? So when you get in that situation, lean on those that have gone through this. Lean on those that are in faith. Lean on those that are, let them support you. Let them pray for you. Because what I have seen is they just disappear.
Yeah.
Just fall back. You can't get a hold of them. You can't, help them. You can't talk to them. You can't encourage them. You can't,
and
pray for them.
They're doing that. What the lie is that they're doing it, but they do the same thing with God. Some people,
same thing.
If they sin or whatever, they distance themselves from God instead of running to Him and going to Him. Yeah. And I kind of think of it like spiritual age, like they reach the teenager stage. Oh. And it's kind of like in real life, physically, when you turn 13, a physical chemical gets released into your brain. And all of a sudden, you have to choose now to push through the feelings and do it anyway. Yeah. And it's like they come to that spot where this isn't doing it for me anymore.
And bottom line is, you've got to start doing this for God. You gave your life to Him. Oh, you have to start doing it outside of yourself, because obviously that is not enough. Yeah. You have to be able to, you know what? No. I'm laying my life down. I am not taking it back. I'm living for you, Father. I know that's what you want for me. I'm going to honor you. I'm going to praise you. It's like the pilot that it's dark and you just got to go by the instruments. Yeah. You got to just block out everything else. Then you've got to go by this instrument. Mm-hmm. And we have that. I've been a minister for 40 years. I still do that. Mm-hmm. I still have those times. Yeah.
It's the total difference of motivation and self-disciplined
Yeah.
attitude.
Yeah.
Because motivation is, oh, I feel like running today. Where self-motivated discipline, that's what it is. Self-motivated discipline is, this is my run day, so I'm running. I don't care if I feel like it or not. They say the actual most gain you get from going to the gym is on days you don't feel like it. Even if it's a day that you feel weak, but you go there anyways and you work through it, those are the days that are really going to show up in your life.
Wow.
And that's the same with God and everything. It's the days where you don't feel like it.
Yeah.
Because your feelings change all the time.
Yeah.
And motivation is just little bursts.
Yeah.
You can't live off of that.
No.
That's why when you first come to church, it's all exciting
Yeah.
and new and, ooh, I like this. It's the honeymoon stage. But then there comes self-motivated discipline.
That's right.
Okay.
There's many days where I don't want to go to church, but that's not even a choice anymore
Yeah.
because it's what I do. It's who I am.
Exactly.
Where it's like the same with running, same with going to working out, eating healthy. It's not a, do I want to today or do I not to? No, it's what you do.
Yeah.
It's what you have in the fridge. That'll tell you who you are, what you eat, how you live.
Yeah.
It's those everyday things.
Yeah. You know what's really funny? Here's another example. So I saw somebody, I don't even know who they are. And I don't even know what church, I don't even know, it doesn't matter. But I saw a person just say that her and her daughter, they're her kids, went to church, and she was just so glad that her daughter, you know, they just had this amazing time. And she said, I wish I could say, she actually said this, that we enjoyed it because we went to Sunday school, because we really liked Sunday school, or we really liked to serve at the church. But she said, actually, the truth is, it was the beginning of the school year. So they have like this big, huge kids thing in the parking lot, and they bring all these blow up things, and they have face painting, and they have, you know, and then she named the person with the face painting that does amazing face painting, and her daughter got the face painting. And then she said, and to top it off, to make the day just so amazing, I asked if she does adults, and she does, and she did my face. And so it wasn't for God. It wasn't for, and I think that in our society right now, we have gone through 2 generations of, you know, you could say daycare, you could say, you know, they haven't done hard things. They haven't finished. They haven't had to be faithful. Or you could
put it this way. It'd be that teenager stage.
Yeah.
But all they've ever done is what their parents told them, and they never were taught why you do it and to want to do it themselves.
Yeah.
And so if the parent's not telling them,
yeah,
they don't do it, and they grow up and they never get past that stage.
Right.
Wow.
And so they need candy to do the job.
Yes.
Or they just won't do it.
Yep. They need the blow up toys.
We're
talking to adults.
Yeah.
There comes a point when you're being potty trained where you don't get suckers and stickers anymore for going on the potty.
Yeah.
You have to be old enough now that I do this without anybody else rewarding me.
Yeah.
That you're doing it for God.
Yeah.
And so, that's so interesting you bring that up, because slave mentality,
Oh boy.
this is slave thinking
Oh
now.
boy.
This is not who we are anymore.
No.
So we should not be thinking about like this.
No.
But we probably all thought like this. Slave mentality is basically this. If I have to do anything, I don't want to mess with it. If I have to do anything, I'm out. I don't want to do anything.
Oh.
That's a
I don't have to mess.
Oh.
Yep. If we've got to fight anybody, we're okay with not going in. Because we don't want to fight anybody. We just want to do our work and mind our own business.
Oh, wow.
If you can give us something for nothing, we'll take it.
You know what that reminds me of? I just have to tell you this really, really fast. So, I knew this pastor and went over to a communist country on a mission trip with a friend, and they're regular missionaries there, this friend, and was shocked. And they told him, wear like gray or brown things, and you don't smile at anybody. So they're walking down the street, and they have like this scarf around their head, and they're not supposed to smile at anybody, no eye contact or anything, because everybody's depressed. And if you go on the street there and you see garbage or you see something, do not pick it up. Because there is a person, that's their job. And they've been assigned that by that's how the Communist Party goes. They give you the job. They will give you a meaningless, boring job that you have to do. So nobody cleans up anything. Nobody helps anybody. And you get on this train to go places, and they smash you in there, and nobody talks to each other. And this is a small village.
It's like a prison.
Nobody talks. Yeah, and this is what, I mean, this just reminds me of that.
Yep. And if anything's hard, no, I don't want to do it.
Oh.
Unless you're beaten to do it. Like, if I don't do this, I'll get beaten. Okay, then I'll do it.
Wow.
That's just, And there's a lot of people in the church who want something for nothing. And everything has to be easy for them. Oh, 11 a.m. Oh, that's just too early. Oh, when we had church at 6 p.m. Oh, that's just too late. Oh, it's one day a week, but I worked all week. I need to rest. I need to sleep in. Somebody sat in my chair. Somebody parked in my parking spot. Nobody came and like put little Cheerios to line the way so I could eat them so I know how to get to church. It's not easy. You're not sitting there and entertaining me. I have to think and I think
it comes back to the dopamine thing.
Yes.
And really it's like it's got to be instant. And I have no, so today I looked at a couple things and it was just really, pretty quick. So it was a TikTok thing and I thought, why is this so long? So I'm going 10 seconds ahead and it was like 60 seconds and I'm going 10 seconds ahead and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I have become one of those that if it doesn't hit me right now, if it's not something that has to do with my life right now, that's going to make more amazing or whatever, I'm out.
Oh, wow.
Thought,
oh, wow.
Wow. And just think, all of the kids have been conditioned in this now.
Right.
Yep.
All of that. Some of the kids told you, was it last year at the gaming party? They said they see us on Instagram, but they don't go on YouTube. They don't go on Facebook. They don't go on any of that, but it's Instagram. Is that fast?
It was the YouTube Reels, which are only 60 seconds.
Okay. See? Yep. I mean, it's really something. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. I know we have stood in front of our microwave before. All three of us waiting to get in the microwave. And we're like, why is this taking so? Maybe we should get 2 microwaves.
So they added a new thing on TikTok. It's been on here for a while, but if you hold the middle of one of the sides of the screen, it does it double time. So if something's boring, you're like, all right, let's double time this and listen to it quicker.
Well, so I was listening to somebody preach, and one of you showed me you could do it so I did it at 150.
On YouTube, 1.5 speed.
1.5, and that was pretty fast.
I've listened to some Southern preachers, and they talk a little bit slower, and you put them on that 1.5, you're like, oh, here we go, now they're talking normal. And then if you ever hear them normal speed, you're like, wow, they talk really slow. But sometimes we don't give ourselves time to process things.
Yeah.
Then.
And you know what? God is not always on 150 speed.
Nope.
And we can miss him. There is something, I remember Kenneth Hagin said, he prophesied too, that we were losing the waiting on the Lord.
Wow.
Yep. And he talked about way back when he pastored, way back. He said sometimes the Holy Spirit would come in, the glory would come in, and they would all and there was not childcare, there was not nursery, they were all in there, and they would sit there for like 45 minutes. Not one person would move. People would get healed, delivered. I mean, it was just amazing. And then afterwards they would testify, and it was blind eyes open. I mean, just miraculous things, limbs growing out. I mean, and we don't have that anymore.
We went to like a healing school, and we just got their first meeting. And they had us literally, we were praising the Lord, not music, just praising the Lord for 20 minutes. That seemed like an eternity.
Yeah. The
first day.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking, what in the world?
Yeah.
But by the time that week was over, man, it was awesome.
And that's really good for your flesh.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's so trained to just be babied. And just be, made happy all the time.
Yeah. You can get impatient.
Yes.
Or want everything in TikTok speed where, okay, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next.
Yeah. Justin says, part of being a mature adult is doing those things you don't really want to do, right?
Wow.
I'm sure glad Jesus did that.
Yeah. And the disciples.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And those that gave their lives to write this. And I mean, my gosh.
Exactly.
Wow.
And there's a part that we play. in our possessing the land. And that's showing up. Showing up to lay hold of the victory. What if the spies would have went out and they didn't come back? They're like, we'll just stay here. Or what if all the people, when they gathered all the spies together, nobody showed up because they're like, well, we'll figure it out later what we're doing. We have to show up.
Yeah.
And we have to be there. There's a whole blessing in showing up.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't just do the online or the telemedicine or just the live streaming. Mm-hmm. There's some times where you have to literally go in to the doctor's office or the physical therapist and get face-to-face treatment. Sometimes you need that. There would have been so many things if you would have tried to do it on the phone with the physical therapist. She's tried to explain this to you. It's not the same as when you show up and you're there.
Yeah, so true.
If you look at long-distance relationships, like parents who go overseas in war and they just like Zoom call their kids, that relationship isn't as strong as if they show up.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work as well. And that's why it's just so important. So we can't just sit back and wait for things to show up and fall in our lap.
Yeah.
They couldn't just sit back because those things they won't. You have to be on purpose to see what God has made yours.
Yeah.
And then you have to step up. You have to step over the obstacles.
Yeah.
You have to step over every hindrance. Mm-hmm. You have to, every difficulty. And then you chew them up as you go. You can't just like put it in your mouth and spit it out. You have to chew it up. Have you ever seen that where somebody puts a new thing, they're eating, trying something new, and they're like, you have to chew it. Underwater. They're like, well, little kid, try this chicken nugget. You'll like it. You gotta chew it though, Billy. You gotta chew the things up.
You gotta swallow it.
Was that Mark Twain that said, first thing in the morning, you eat that frog first thing in the morning?
Yep. There is something about that.
And the point of it was you do the hardest thing first.
Oh, wow.
Yep. If you have a list of things to do, tasks to do in the day, do the hardest ones first.
Wow.
Because you'll get tired by the end. They even say working out, you work out your weakest muscle first.
Oh,
so let's say your arms are different. My left arm is weaker than my right arm. I know this because try it. They say you do your left arm first, your weak one. Because when you're by the end of that set, you're like, I can't. But you're like, oh, I got my strong arm. And then you're like, oh, that's easy. You do your weak one first.
Nice.
You do the hardest things first.
Nice.
Numbers 14 and verse 7. And they say working out first thing in the morning really sets your day up. Because if you're waiting, I did this yesterday. I didn't work out until at night. Oh, that was hard. That was hard just getting up to do it. Once I got in there, it was fine. But I like doing it in the morning, first thing, because then after my devotions, I do my devotions, then I work out. And then my day's set. Then I don't have to think about it anymore. But waiting, that was really hard. And then after supper, I'm like, I don't want to get up. But I did it. It was really hard, but I did it. So, if you do the hard things first, eat it while it's hot. When it first comes out of the oven, that giant first comes, you eat it while it's hot.
Was it hard to go to bed after that?
No, because I had a couple hours in between there. But it would have been if I would have did it. I have done something where I did it right before bed. That was hard to go to bed because you're hyped up now. And you're like, woo, let's go.
Yeah.
So don't do it right before bed. Numbers 14 and verse 7. And they said to all the company of Israelites, the land through which we passed as scouts is an exceedingly good man. Meaning, this exceeds everything we have ever seen in our whole life. It's better than anything we could have even imagined. Verse 8. If the Lord delights in us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land flowing with milk and honey. Only do not rebel against the Lord. Neither fear the people of the land, for they are bread for us. Their defense and their shadow of protection is removed for them, but the Lord is with them. Fear them not. The phrase,
with us.
Yeah. But the Lord is with us. Fear them not.
Okay.
I have 5. The phrase, they're bread for us. Bread is part of your diet. Well, bread back in the day. Bread now, probably. But bread back in the day was so nutritious. That bread had everything that you would probably need for the day in it. Giants are bread for us. They're a staple to our nutrition. Wow. We have to eat them daily. We have to eat a high nutrition of giants. Because if we don't get that nutrition, you won't build any muscle after that. So if you're thinking, well, I'm just not going to eat any giants today, you're going to be weak. You're going to be deficient. You're going to be malnourished.
I bet you could get a taste for giants then.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
Once you get a taste for that, you're like, let's go. Let's eat more. That's all I can eat now. Dr. Lillian B. Yeomans, she was a medical doctor, and she found herself on the deathbed. And through that experience, she came back in a fellowship with the Lord and believed God. And she was raised up on her deathbed, so he healed her. And then she went teaching a divine healing school for the next 35 years of her life. And she was an instructor for Amy Simple McPherson's at one of her healing schools. I never did that. In LA. And she was instructed in other Bible schools as well. So she was an instructor in many Bible schools.
Wow.
So one of the students, knowing that she was a medical doctor, one of the students at the school, said to her, is there any diet that you especially believe in? And she said, yes, I do. I believe in a diet of giants. Just devour each one that comes your way and become spiritual stalwart. So I had to look up, I'm like, what does stalwart mean? It means courageous and dependable, physically strong. So it's like your protein powder. If you see people who, gym bros, they'll work out and they'll just like have these kegs of protein powder and they'll just down it dry. I don't know. That's what they live on, is protein powder. That's how you find them. You sprinkle them out and
they're smoking protein powder.
Yeah, they're snorting it. So no giant, no oppositions, no obstacle. That's our downfall. Because they're our bread.
Oh, that's
and that
good.
is to add something to us in the eating.
Yeah.
But if we're not eating, if you see a baby that's not eating, something's wrong with that baby.
Wow.
You need to get them checked out right away. Because that baby needs to eat often and a lot. And as we grow as Christians, we need to eat giants often and a lot of it. That's how we grow bigger. That's how we bulk and get big in Christ. So there are things that are built into our spiritual system that can only come through giants.
Wow.
That's the only nutrition you can get it from is giants. Have you seen those things where it says you can get B12 vitamin complex only from these certain foods?
Yeah.
Well, you can only get spiritually big through giants. And not through arriving at your destination, but can only come through obstacle eating. You have to go through. How did David become king? He killed the lion. He killed the bear. He killed the giant. He built up to that. You can't just start at a giant meal of giants. You gotta build up to that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the first time you go to a buffet. You might just one plate and be like, wow, you people can eat a lot. And the next time you go to a buffet, you're like, ooh, maybe I'll try what they're doing. And then you eat a little bit more. Then you become a buffet expert.
Wow.
And you do the 2 plates at once. Then you find out, oh, they have trays. Some places have trays.
You know what I just thought of? What if, so when you get to your giant like David did, he couldn't wait to take out
He ran to it.
Yeah.
He ran to him. He
was
wanted
hungry.
to. He was hungry. Why? He had gotten a taste from the other. What if you don't do the little ones?
You know what he even did?
You're going to come to the giant and you're going to be like,
I've never eaten that.
Like the entire Israeli army.
Yeah, right.
Wow, even the king. Nobody went out there. But David had been with the Lord. He's been trained. If you're being trained by the Lord, you should be going through eating some small giants, medium giants, getting bigger, bigger. When you get to that giant, it's not going to be, no, you're going to be like, come on.
He even was doing like you do when you look at that menu and you're talking yourself into something. He kept asking them, what do I get when I kill this guy? What do I get? He turned to another and said the same thing. That's like you go to the restaurant and go, what comes with this meal?
Is dessert included?
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Are the drinks included?
And you ask the exact same question, what comes with this meal? That's what he's getting himself because he's like, ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Wow. He even went to the king. King wanted him to wear the armor. He was like, nope, nope, nope. And you know what? I mean, think about this. He goes out there with no armor on. He's like they're saying he's about 17 years old. With a slingshot. And he was not embarrassed.
Nope. He was well practiced in that.
Wow.
He knew what he could do.
Amazing.
Yeah.
He didn't let anything, his brothers tried to. They tried to shame him, make fun of him, embarrass him, go home. And he was like, no, is there not a cause? That is amazing. He was doing it all for God. All for the Lord.
Have you ever seen those people who do food challenges? They'll go to restaurants and you have to eat this 20-foot burger. My favorite are the ones, they're like halfway through their meal and they'll ask, do you have a dessert menu? As they're halfway through their challenge, because they're just like, they've got it. They're like, and there's this one guy, he's like from England or something, and he always asks for dessert at the end. And he'll always eat that. And he said, it's kind of nice, especially with certain foods, because it'll balance it out. But we should be like, once we eat that giant, all right, where's number 2? I'm ready. I'm hungry for more. Bring it on. Where's the dessert?
Wow.
I want the dessert menu now, because that comes with it. And then they always tell you as they're doing their challenge what they win, how much time they have, all this stuff, and they're ready for it. They get themselves ready for that.
I think we should name some things like in real life that would be giants. Like how about, they're that one coworker. Or it could be your boss. Or it could be one thing about your job that you just do not like to do. But you got to do it every day.
Yep.
And so you don't look forward to. How about Mondays?
Yep.
Oh, it's Monday. The weekend's over.
When you're tired. A bill comes in the mail that you weren't expecting. Something, your car breaks down. Something unexpected happens. How do you respond to that?
Yeah.
Do you go, ooh, I'm going to eat this? Or are you going to be like, oh no, a giant, and you run away?
Or a sickness, or an incurable disease.
Yeah.
Or,
Wow.
Somebody's mean to you.
Yeah.
Somebody bashes you online because you're a Christian or you stand up for values or morals or that type of thing.
Yeah. Stuff is happening in the country.
Yeah. Sunday morning comes.
Ooh.
And you didn't get to sleep last night. You didn't sleep at all.
Oh.
You're tired from the week. You
Man.
get home and your family's there and they want to spend time with you and you're like, I'm too tired.
So now that we know the truth about giants, we should be like,
This is just a
gonna be
giant.
good.
Yes.
It's gonna be, why? Because you want to get so skillful you can take the big giant on. Why? It made David king.
Yes.
It put him in a position of leadership that he could spread God easily.
Yeah.
He could be the ambassador for Christ easily.
it was a breakthrough beyond that giant.
Wow, it was so huge.
And
Wow.
it gave him the endurance and the patience then to go that multiple amount of years with King Saul trying to kill him.
Yeah.
He knew he was supposed to be king. And if he would have went before God, if he wouldn't have done those giants before and gotten that sustenance, he wouldn't have made it.
Wow.
So think about it. Your giant that you're up against now, that victory over that giant is not only a victory of that giant, but it's breakthrough in your life.
Oh, yes.
For more than that, it gets you in the position you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know?
Wow.
Yep.
I heard Rodney Howard Brown say this. He said, you're only able to do for others where you've gotten a breakthrough in your own life. So you take those giants again. Once you take that giant, now God can use you to help others
good.
Yeah.
take their giants.
And look what they said about David. David kills the 10,000s. Is that what it was? And
Saul has killed his thousands and David's his 10,000s.
yeah, look at that.
Yeah. He became a mighty warrior for God after that.
He didn't even have to tell anybody. They watched him after that.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Woo, that steady
And
diet.
he got to keep Goliath's head.
Yeah. I wonder if he
Same.
shrunk it and put it on a keychain. I don't know. Bowling ball.
Yeah. Put
Who
it on
knows?
his car.
So today's society devalues and tries to get rid of all kinds of oppositions. They want it all removed. We were noticing that video games nowadays have been nerfed. So we grew up on a steady diet of Mario Kart.
Amen.
The old style where it was hard. Rainbow Road was a challenge. You would fall off every 5 seconds, but you just kept going. Now,
Yeah.
they nerfed the game.
Wow.
So they have like bumpers on the sides of
You
the
can't
road.
fall off.
You can if you really try, but it like pushes you. So Dad has been playing with us, and he's not a night person, so he'll literally fall asleep, but he'll keep his finger on the go forward, and he'll beat some of the computers because he's. But it's nerfing him along the way.
Wow.
We've gotten rid of that. It's good to do hard things.
Yeah.
That this is really hard, but I like it. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
People don't want challenges nowadays. They want. I want to be coddled. I want to be. I want the participation award.
So maybe that's why God has us at these jobs with hard people. Or God puts us in positions where we have to do, because He's getting us ready, getting us used to doing hard things on a regular basis.
Yeah.
That's good.
You know, I mean, every area of life. I mean, used to teach guitar. They quit. Why? It was hard.
Yeah.
Or they didn't want it enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where it might not even be a spiritual thing, but putting effort into that and becoming excellent in one area.
Yeah.
God will either use that directly, or your effort in that, God will say, now you do this over here.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we get trained to do those things.
Wow.
Yep. And the more you do hard things, the stronger you will be.
Yeah.
You want to grow real muscle? You can't be lifting the 5-pound weights forever.
Mm-hmm.
You have to lift the weights that literally you're shaking those last 2 reps, or you're like, I can't go on anymore. That's what it does, and that's how you build the most in faith.
Yeah, and that's why Paul said, I glory in my infirmities.
Yeah.
When I'm weak, I'm strong. You know what he's saying? I get happy when there's giants.
Yes.
Because it's time I get to eat.
He's like, woo, I get to eat today, and it's going to be good. This is going to be a big meal, and I'm ready for it.
Well, I have found that stuff that you learn in your younger years it's amazing how in your later years you use that, and you would not be able to even be in that position if you wouldn't have done that. Like I remember when I was pregnant with Natalie, I took a bus driving license. And I drove bus for a school-age childcare program for 12 years that I was director of at the school. And because of that, our church then, we got a bus, and I could drive it. Mm-hmm. And then finally, Natalie got her bus driving license too. We couldn't have done that.
No.
And I didn't even realize that until there was another church that asked me, how did you get that bus? Where'd you get it? And can you just drive that? I mean, can you just, have people? I said, no, I have a bus driving license. I mean, I never knew that.
Who would have thought you would have used that later?
And I didn't have to get my bus driver's license when I was in the school-age childcare program. I didn't have to get it. But I don't know, there was just something that I just knew that I should get that. And I just think about like Natalie with her cookbooks and stuff now. You started with that little teeny business.
Yeah.
And man, did that get you ready for the bookkeeping and the monies and the mailings and the wow. And I think, look at how you just started with that one book.
Right.
And now you're a publisher. And you've published like 80 books. And I mean, it's just crazy. John started his business. He was 13 years old and got called by the bank in town here.
Social service.
Oh, social service was the first one.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. And because you did a good job to start out with and you did the best, God promoted you.
Yep.
He honored you and he promoted you.
Well, what if, were you 9 when you learned how to play guitar and piano?
Yep.
What if you wouldn't have learned? Did you ever think that at 9 years old, you're going to be the church band? Did you ever think that? No. And you're going to be leading worship. That was probably the farthest thing from your mind.
Yeah.
So God will give you little things, and you'll be like, this is really stupid. Well, even that first business, I was sewing things. I sewed some puppets for that. I didn't know what I was doing. I just made it up. So if I wouldn't have learned that, I wouldn't have learned how to make puppets and just the things that it molds into.
I know. It's just so we cannot look at little things lightly because God will use them. Yep. He wants you to learn that small now so that when you come to this place, you can do it big.
Mm-hmm. Well, even being in plays growing up when we were just little. I think I was 4 when I was in my first play, and now we're putting on skits weekly. We're doing all these things, movies.
Yeah.
If we wouldn't have had some of that background training, we wouldn't have known what we're doing.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
So God will use what you've learned.
Yeah.
He'll use those giants, and he'll take every part of that nutrition in your body and use it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so cool
how
God does it. It's so true what the Bible says. When you're faithful in the little things, you'll be given much.
Yeah. And it's better than you can ask, think, or imagine.
Yeah.
Yep. So we got to eat those giants when they come out hot.
Yeah.
Eat it right away before you can even think about it. Yeah, because they taste better. They go down easier. Praise God. Well, we will be back Sunday morning, live and in person. We would love to have you join us. We are at 829 North Tower Road, Fergus Falls, Minnesota. And church starts at 11 a.m., but we start at 10:30 a.m. with continental breakfast, coffee, treats, all the delicious things. Probably some Giants for breakfast. Who knows?
And free bus ride.
Free bus rides. Yes, we have Kidz Church also. We would love to pick up your kiddos. And if you're an adult, don't drive. We can pick you up. Also, we have free bus rides. You can go on our website to find out more information about that. Well, we love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.